We began investigating how we would go about the removal of first the asbestos and then secondly the removal of the buildings. We actually awarded an asbestos contract back in December with funds that we secured $40,000 from the Alleghany Foundation that was supplemented by about $30,000 of funds that had been sitting actually in an unused account for many, many years. That was some proceeds from when the property at Lowmore was sold to the then West Rock for the Lowmore plant. And the specific fund that it was set aside in said it had to be used for economic development purposes. You may remember that you all actually adopted a resolution that allowed us to use that money, and your counterparts in Alleghany County did the same thing. So that contract was entered into back in December, and December we also released a request for quotes for the demolition of those buildings. We had a mandatory pre-submittal meeting. During that time we only had one contractor who attended and only one response, which was for almost $300,000, which was obviously beyond our reach. It was interesting that back as far as April of 2016, we had a company that had come to the town and provided a proposal, which I think you all remember, where he indicated he was willing to level the rail yard and in fact asked for no compensation, and in return he would take the recycled products from that. We anticipated when we went out for the request for quotes back in December of last year that in fact that gentleman would bid, and he did not. And as I said, the one bid that we got was beyond our reach financially, so we reissued that request for quotes again let me look for my date. I think it was early February. Yes, February the 3rd. And we removed the mandatory pre-bid requirement that we had before. In a mandatory pre-bid, if a company does not come to that, then we can't accept their bid regardless of what it is. We also, during that period of time, had to do a change order to the asbestos contractor because they found additional asbestos, even though we thought we had a very comprehensive report. They have done all of the work with the exception of one wall, which is very close to the smokestack, and they were advised not to touch that wall until the smokestack came down, so we still are withholding a portion of payment to them until that work is done. We released, as I said, another request for proposals in early February. We received 2 responses to that. One was from the company that indicated they would do it at no cost for the rights to recycle the materials, and one from a new firm, this one slightly over $200,000. Obviously, the one that was not going to cost us anything was the one we selected, and on March the 1st of this year, we notified in writing that company that we had accepted their proposal and actually sent them a contract to execute. It was 10 days later when that company withdrew their offer and said that the price of steel had gone down in the meantime, that they thought they were going to have access to additional rail beyond the rail that was in the building, even though I've gone back, as have others, and looked at the specs and the email exchanges, and it's very clear that none of the external rail was included. So we were left with a situation where we did not, in fact, have a contractor. Since that time, we have met with a local group of individuals who expressed some interest in demolishing the buildings for the salvage value. We also contacted a gentleman in Abington who came to take a look at it and provided a quote, again, well over $250,000. The company that the Historical Society has asked to give them a quote on the removal of the turntable, that gentleman, when he came to visit, expressed an interest in tearing the buildings down as well as the smokestack, and said he would get back to us with a proposal. We have not received anything back from him in spite of the fact that we have made several overtures. In the meantime,